You want gore? You want some gore? The 80s gives you the gore, man!
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with episode 13 of my 22 Shots of Appreciation. Man, it has been a while. First of all, I just apologize for the long delay in between videos, but with the move from Georgia back up here to Western New York and with the baby coming and just, life in general. We're not in our new house yet, so this is still temporary, but within a month I'm going to be in our new house and then hopefully have a situation where I can get back to doing things a little bit more consistently. So appreciate, again, all those who subscribed, all those who watch and have watched, and hopefully I can get this train back on the tracks again. For episode 13, I wanted to do... it's a film definitely I would not have in my collection if it wasn't for the 22 Shots Moodz and Horror podcast community. It is a film, I can't remember where I first heard about it, but if you're really interested, and I would be shocked if you haven't seen it or at least seen some reviews of it, I can tell you right off the bat that Episode 17 of Exploding Heads deals with it in depth, as well as JP over at Double Shot J. He did a review for it. You can find it there. And if you go over to the 22 Shots Moodz and Horror podcast, number 105, the Urban Legends Trilogy, they get into it a little bit within the context of a conversation revolving around It Comes at Night. I've not seen it yet, but man, I so badly want to see this movie. But anyways, the discussion is wrapped around or deals with that film, and within that, Blackcoat's daughter comes up, and so you can check out that too, as well as the podcast in its entirety. And here, the little few thoughts that I may give out, with spoilers and everything. I'd be shocked if you haven't seen this yet. If you haven't, you need to. It is just an absolutely gorgeous film to look at. Oz Perkins, the director, this is his directorial debut, and man, I'm telling you, he knocked it out of the park. And with his first film, this film is it's beautifully shot. The music, his brother Elvis does the score. Is, man, it just, the music, how it's shot, the editing. I don't know if there's very much wrong with this film from start to finish at all. It is absolutely just, I said this before back in episode, I think 11, when I covered The Witch. Just the cinematography in that film, it's just gorgeous to look at. And back before that a little bit, I know I dealt with We Are Still Here, which is just one of my absolutely favorite films from the last few years. Again, I wouldn't even known about it if it wasn't for the 22 Shots Moodz and Horror community, the podcast. And that film is interesting. I went back, I've seen this movie 4 times now. Twice with the commentary, twice without. Once with my son, actually. And I also decided to revisit We Are Still Here. And it's funny because the two films actually deal with loss but from different perspectives. And if you haven't seen We Are Still Here, you really need to, because both, I think, are pretty brilliantly told in terms of telling a story about either a person or persons dealing with loss and how that impacts them. And this is a powerful film. It revolves around 3 girls, Kat, Rose, and Joan. And those 3 girls are, man, they really drive this film. You know, with, again, spoilers, it's so hard. I mean, I want to just get in and just start talking about this. But I really don't, at this point, I don't want to ruin it. It is, even with my son, I almost spoiled it last night. There's a transition. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. There's a scene in the restaurant, and it is a transition moment when there's two stories being told, and really these two stories come to a head at this one particular moment. And in order to tell him about something else, I almost gave it away right there. I mean, I had to bite down on my tongue really hard, and but I didn't. And thankfully, we got to the end without me really, without me spoiling anything. And he absolutely he could not believe how it wrapped up. But Oz Perkins, of course, it's been said a zillion times, the son of Anthony Perkins, of course, and he knows how to manipulate storytelling ideas in such a way as not to give very much shout. He's definitely on the side of less is better, and I completely agree. The director commentary, it's interesting. One of the things that really jumped out of that was, you know, I've heard it over a few times, that this film really conveys a sense of cold, and it should, because they shot it outside of Ontario, and it was negative 41 degrees. I mean, if you watch the short documentary that's on the Blue, they get into that a little bit as well. And to see the people who are actually managing cameras and whatnot, the crew, how they're all bundled up, and man, I'm telling you, they got ice hanging from their beards, and I mean, it's sick how cold it is. And you see the actresses, they're just like hardly dressed at all, and they're just carrying through it unbelievably. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. One thing I'll say too, it's interesting with music and the job Elvis did. You know, it had me really thinking about Carnival of Souls, and there's a sense of loss that is dealt there as well, although much differently told. But the music, the pavilion scene, just this idea of this haunting. I mean, it haunts you, and there's some scenes in The Blackcoat's Daughter that just, I mean, if they don't get under your skin, I mean, I don't know if much of anything can get under your skin. And it's very deep, it's layered. You know, it's funny, when I posted this, when I first watched it, posted it on Facebook, I inadvertently, when I just kind of had the Blu-ray sitting on my counter, I had it leaning against some vegetables, and I thought, you know, that's kind of odd after the fact. But then watching halfway through the movie, I was thinking to myself, that wasn't odd at all, because this film is very organically made. I mean, you know, there's one point where Oz is talking about lighting, and they're really, for all intents and purposes, there is no lighting, at least artificial. They just let the light pour in through the windows, and they let natural light do the job for them. And so whether it's dealing with the brutal cold or just the lighting, even the music is somewhat organic in the sense that there's a recital or whatnot where Kat is singing a song somewhat at the beginning of the film, and it was a one-take deal. I mean, all Oz asked her was, "Can he sing?" "Yeah." "Great, here's a piano, here's a song, let's shoot." And I'm telling you, she hit it absolutely perfect. And that was really the vibe and tempo of the entire film. And he goes on and talks a lot about in his commentary how just everything, nearly everything, just seemed to work right, as if angels were lightly touching this film, as he puts it, which is interesting. But the story, oh man, again, really two separate stories being told. Three girls are at the core of this film, and a lot of intangible little things as well. They show Rose having a picture taken with a light blue backdrop. Blue, the contrast between blue and amber plays itself out in the film. There's a scene in the restaurant where if you're not really looking, you'll totally miss it, but there's a milk truck outside the window. That has something, the idea of milk, the symbolism of it. I mean, it's symbolically rich, this film. I mean, as Oz says, he doesn't do anything without a purpose. Every single thing in this film serves a purpose, either directly or indirectly, whether it came right from his lead as a director or it sort of just accidentally fell in, like he comments on Kat's hair at the beginning, and no one told her to come in with her hair. If you remember how it's braided in the back and whatnot, no one told her how to come in. She just shows up with this hair, and he mentions that it's almost had an H.R. Geiger feel about it. Now, I'm telling you, the minute you say H.R. Geiger and you're commenting on some aspect of your film, you got me right there. This guy I know is coming from just an absolutely rich background, and he knows his business. But take a look at it. I would recommend you just go buy it. I mean, it's 14 something and change at Walmart. The blue and the DVD comes along with it, and again, just an absolutely gorgeous film. It may take a few views to kind of really get things in perspective, but when you begin to really get your mind wrapped around it, it's one of those films that it can be revisited upon just revisited. So anyways, The Blackcoat's Daughter, episode number 13, an A24 picture, which A24 again is they really got something going on here, and just a great film. I don't know what the next episode will be, but again, this is VHS 82 apostrophe, and again, the reason I do this is a shout out to the 22 Shots Moodz and Horror podcast, and just because I got movies in my collection that I would not have if it wasn't for Moodz, JP, and Jeremy, and so a shout out to them and all they do. I don't know exactly. The amount of work that they put in is, I'm sure, absolutely insane, and we ought to support them as much as possible. So just a huge shout out. And again, if you're looking to really get a pretty good in-depth review, Exploding Heads, episode number 17, they do it spoiler-free and with spoilers. So if you want to get a pretty good in-depth view, and definitely check out episode 105, the Urban Legends Trilogy podcast, and especially the conversation revolving around It Comes at Night. Man, JP, man, he really gets passionate about this, and so he should. We really need to get on board with these films, because the one thing Moodz said in that conversation was, if we don't, these films are going to become rare and rare, and we're not going to get to see them. And I would love to have seen this film on the big screen. That would have been awesome. And just because of timing and money and whatnot, probably going to miss It Comes at Night, which I just absolutely can't stand, because I'm sure I'm going to love that one as well. So shout out to A24 Films and Oz Perkins. I'm sure we all welcome him as a new director, and I'm sure he'll be around for a long time. And of course, as always, go Bills.
These days, I'm going to